Locker Room Talk, Part 3. Kru Jeff here in the locker room. This is a series we're doing to delve into what it can take to be a better warrior, a better martial artist, to be a better person. And man, it's partly for you guys, but it's mostly for me because I'm a selfish guy sometimes. But I have someone with me who obviously I respect very much. He's something of a Canadian, modern day Canadian unsung hero maybe in the military and some of his adventures and all that stuff. Some we can talk about, some we probably can't. But Cheif Joe MacInnis, that's what it is. It's just Cheif.
Just Cheif.
What's underneath Cheif?
Sergeant Major.
Sergeant Major. Yeah. Crazy. So Joe has obviously spent most of his life, all of his life, kind of like in the military, working his way up and becoming the highest level. You're a master sniper, correct?
Yeah, master sniper, but Cheif's the highest level of NCM, non-commissioned member. So the way the military works is as you move up the chain of command, you work in command teams. So basically you have an officer who's in command.
Yeah.
He's the big brains behind the operation, and then you have your NCM, either Sergeant Major or Chief, who advises on the experiential portion of things for manning, for equipment, because the chief or the senior NCOs have all the experience, as opposed to just the pie in the sky plan to go forward.
Right.
So that's basically.
So you're you're kind of like the experienced consultant who's helping.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
And you also take care of the men. So you're the representative for the men.
And that's kind of what we want to talk about, taking care of the men, right? So your experience, where did you do tours?
I've done tours started way back in early tours in Cyprus, and then I did Rwanda, Zaire, Uganda. I spent about a year and a half in Central Africa. And
was Rwanda during the genocide?
Yes. And then I forgot in 92, 93 I was in Bosnia, Sarajevo, and in 98 I was back in Bosnia when we were doing PIFWIC, so persons indicted for war crimes. So we were looking for those guys.
Did you catch any?
Yeah, we were responsible for catching some,
good.
or at least contributing because it was a coalition effort.
Right on.
But then in 2000 I was back in Africa again, and then in 06 Afghanistan, 08 Afghanistan, 010 Afghanistan, and
must have got pretty sick of Afghanistan.
Yeah, you get pretty sick of it. But the thing is, during the height of it, it's funny, Jeff, you say that because it links into leadership, is at the height of it, you didn't want to be back here.
Yeah.
Because all your men were there. So you had that sense of responsibility and brotherhood that you needed to be in the shit with them.
Yeah.
Which is, a lot of people don't understand that. And they're like, well, why would you want to go back over? Well, you're going back over, it's not for you. You didn't really want to, deep down, you kind of want to stay home with your family, but in reality, all your buddies were over there, so you needed to be with them.
Yeah.
And that ties into leadership.
Crazy. So you were in Afghanistan, that was the last one?
Yeah, I think so. In 2012, I went over as a part of a command team to close it out.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. So in all of your experiences, I'm sure you've had a few mentors along the way.
Yes.
You've had some people teach you some great things, and at the highest level of you're doing things at the highest level, and you must have had some good I don't know what they call it, trainers or mentors.
Yeah, mentors
along the way that you picked up.
Yeah.
A lot of valuable lessons. Can you share some of those lessons?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key note though to understand is special operations does things differently.
Yeah.
So if you grew up in the regular military, we're off.
I don't know. We're good.
Okay. If you grew up in the regular military, the military does an excellent job of sending its junior leaders and senior leaders off on courses to learn after they've accumulated a certain amount of experience. They send them off to do courses to learn about leadership and how to implement it. Mm-hmm. Special forces is a lot different in that you don't move up the ranks very quick. It's a very, very slow climb because you're fighting in a huge shark tank with the biggest sharks there are.
It'd be like making the NBA.
Yeah, that's right.
NHL or something.
And, you know, so bottom line is, most of what you're going to learn about leadership in the Special Forces is through your immediate supervisors or superiors or leaders. And you usually pick somebody who, you know, for whatever reason, attracts you to their leadership style.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a bunch of leadership styles. You know, you can talk about laissez-faire, which is kind of let people do what they want to do. You know, there's authoritarian, which is kind of, you know, rolling with the iron fist. You know, none of that really works.
Yeah.
Especially in a group of hungry sharks. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I link it, and the reason why I think that we've had such a great relationship with Cole as well, is a lot of martial arts is very, very closely related to soldiering.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Much smaller scale, much
Well,
less dire consequences, but
But the mental preparation, the mental fortitude, the ability, you know, to train for something and, you know, and go in and execute it is no different than training for an operation.
yeah.
And then having to go execute it. And on that, you know, like, you know, you talk about, you know, I was looking at some notes prior to coming. A Special Forces model that we have is a pyramid model. We simplify things. So we're not like, you know, the conventional army that needs like 15 boxes ticked off and, you know, 42 other things done and a lot of paperwork. The thing that makes Special Forces, you know, so unique is the, obviously the men are specially selected, the equipment is special, but more importantly, the training. Okay? So much like a fight, if you're preparing a fighter for a fight, you know, we use a simple triangular model. It says, and at the bottom, it's security, simplicity, and repetition. So security would be like, you don't want to give, you know, you're not going to post a bunch of YouTube videos of your fighter doing a certain thing because the other guy's going to look at it, right? So it's closely, you know, it can be translated.
Yeah.
You know, the simplicity is, you know, if you do a bunch of complicated things that the guy can never master, well, he's not going to be good at anything.
Yeah.
Right.
You see that all the time. The pad superstars.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of haters out there online, and most of them are pretty hilarious, and they just roast the Midmen and all this crazy shit. There's one guy online who's really, really funny. I don't even know. I've never even met him, but he just roasts people for their pad work. It's like, yeah, could you do that in a fight? You know, probably not. You do it on the pads.
And what did you say? You know, you don't fear the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks. You fear the man who's practiced
Well,
one.
I didn't say that, but
You know.
Bruce Lee said that.
Yeah. But the other one is, the key other one on the base of that is repetition.
Of course.
So if you rep it, you know, it becomes muscle memory.
Yeah.
And you're going to do it when it comes down in a split second. You don't have to think about it, right?
That's one thing that I really got away from the jiu-jitsu training, because it's such a foreign, like punching and kicking, kinetic energy coming from the ground up. It's all pretty basic for like every human. Like you could go out on the street. I could go across the street and pick a fight with a guy at the bus. I know he's going to try and punch me. You know what I mean? But in jiu-jitsu, you're off your back, and it's such a unique use of the human body that you have to get repetition. So when I started teaching jiu-jitsu a little bit, understanding more of like how jiu-jitsu was learned, that really, really helped. You know, my teaching style for Muay Thai, I find, because, you know, it's just about like, are you going to do this 10,000 times this month? That's all it is. Are you going to rep this out 10, like literally, until you can't do anything except that? That's the key, and that's how Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys get good. And I think, you know, that kind of training gives Western guys, because there is that BJJ influence and that wrestling influence over here, it might give them even like a little bit of an edge sometimes when it comes to sound, you know, in this MMA culture, because that, like, sometimes the lines kind of they come together, and like training philosophies from one go to the next. And whether it's intentional or not, and no, the Muay Thai purists will probably hate on me for saying this, but you know, that jiu-jitsu culture and that wrestling culture and that grappling culture of you have to do the repetitions definitely has leaked into our striking culture over here. You know, from just my opinion anyway.
Well, the key too for repetition is you're not just going to repeat one move. You're repeating the counter move. You're repeating the counter move.
For sure.
And then, you know, much like we do when we train for an operation, right? We do repetition, but then we do repetition as if everything goes well. So everything's going well, this is how we're going to do it. Okay, now we get back into it. Okay, everything's going well, all of a sudden entry point number 3 is you can't enter. So, you know, what what's your plan after that, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing as fighting.
Would you guys like rep out like when everything went wrong too?
Yes. Yeah, and
I think that's an overlooked
Yeah.
part of
And I
training
think-
in general. It's just everyone wants to do like the perfect scenario,
Right.
but it's never fucking perfect.
No. So, you know.
You can swear here.
Okay. Alright. So, like, you know, and I think that's key. Like, you know, it's called a rock drill, and what we do is we have a red cell that basically says, okay, all right, so this is your plan. You're doing it. All of a sudden, you know, helicopter 2 goes down. What's your plan for that? You know, or you know, entry points 1 and 4 are barricaded. You know, what's your alternate entry points and how are you going to link up after that? Because the whole plan can go to shit in a heartbeat.
And that's so
Right.
easily transferable. You try to
Right.
kick the guy, he blocks.
That's right.
What's
So
your
now
secondary
what's your next, and how do you
Yeah, yeah.
adapt on the go?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the other thing I was
Is
gonna
there
say.
adaptation on the go, or is there
Oh,
just
yeah.
coaching?
No,
is
no.
there just coaching to be adaptive?
I think,
Is it a result of training, or is it a result of
no,
that?
I
special
definitely
need?
think that part of selection,
Okay.
our selection process, and the reason why our selection process only allows through maybe 2% of the applicants, is we are looking for people that can think on the go, that have the adaptability, right?
Yeah.
That can change on the fly without
Makes
being
sense, too.
tied to a doctrine, and that leads me to the
Mhm.
next level of this pyramid. You know, when I'm looking at it, is speed and surprise. So when you have less manpower and you're operating in a hostile environment, you know, the two advantages you have are speed and surprise, and it's the same as fighting, right? If you surprise your opponent, you know, with
So you
something,
don't see coming as long as
that's right, exactly. But the most important part of that whole pyramid is the end, and that's purpose. If everybody understands the purpose and they buy into the purpose, then the whole chain pulls together, right?
Purpose as in ideology, or purpose as in
What's your mission? What's your end state? So if it's safely rescue the hostage, right? And everybody understands the purpose behind that mission, then nobody, regardless of who gets knocked off, so you get, you know, leader 1 knocked off, leader 2 knocked off, the
By
whole
knocked
chain,
off, you mean
yeah, the whole chain of command's down. Or for whatever reason,
down, like
down or they don't down or they don't make it to the target, right? So now it doesn't matter. Corporal Bloggins picks up he picks up the mission after that because he understands the purpose.
okay.
And everybody knows everybody's.
So if everyone's down with one guy, they still get the mission accomplished. It's still a fucking
That's
success.
still a success.
Jeez.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think that's I love that model.
Yeah.
Because that model applies to just more than fighting and soldiering. That model applies to a lot of things we do in life.
So to reiterate, the triangle is.
So at the base, you've always got security, simplicity, repetition, speed, surprise, and then at the top, the most important one is purpose. So what's your purpose? You know, it's the same thing as you starting up a gym, right, and teaching. Your purpose is to, impart, what you've learned through your experience and everything else onto everybody else, and to create a better atmosphere, or what you consider to be the best atmosphere for martial arts.
Yeah, it's just my vision.
Right, but
People align with that.
that's right. And when they align with it, that's where the power comes from. If they just follow blindly, you got no strength.
Yeah.
It's when people align with what you're, when we talk about leadership,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
definition of leadership is the influence to do people what you, the influence, or the ability to influence people to do what you want. That's the definition of leadership.
Yeah.
At the roots of leadership, it's your ability to influence people to do what you want.
But I'm not even trying to do that.
No,
I'm just trying to.
but you're doing it.
I believe I could help them
That's right.
get what they want. I don't want them to do what I want.
Right. No, I understand that, but it's
Yeah.
it's not about there's a difference between influencing people to do what they want and getting them there.
Yeah.
It's the getting them from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Right? Where you come in. That's where you come in as as a planner. Of let's say the person that comes in and all they want to do is just lose weight, but they want to do it through martial arts.
Yeah.
Right? You're gonna get them there by your experience. Right?
For sure.
So that's the big difference there.
Crazy.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
the other one is the most important, like there's all those leadership styles.
Yeah.
The most important thing you can do as a leader, and we've talked about this before, is lead from the front,
Yes.
right? Now, your experience, we're never going to go back in time. When I became a chief, I couldn't go back in time and be 31 again,
No.
right? So there were things I could do and there were things I couldn't do.
I wish I could go back in time.
Right.
With the knowledge I have now, man, I'd be the fucking world beater.
Yeah, but the advantage is using that knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? to make your not only that, to make your people's lives easier so they don't make the same mistakes.
100%.
You know, so like you went out and when you were young, you used to spar every bloody day with Kru Chris, and he'd knock your brains into.
Yes, he would. We'd have some slobber knockers, that's for sure, back in the day. But Fades Muay Thai, like room full of killers, bro.
Yeah.
I'd only been training a couple of years. Bam, bam, go. Kicked in the head by Devin's brother Dwight, like a million times. Oh, my toes just went fuzzy. We didn't really know about concussions back then and stuff.
No.
Yeah, crazy stuff, man.
But I mean, it's a fine line. Like I personally think society's gone too far left.
Yeah,
I do. I believe there's a fine line between.
There's a lot of people that think that, for sure.
Training smarter is good. You still got to train hard.
You still got to have that grit.
You still got to have that grit, right? And if you don't, you're just going to get eaten.
Yeah. It drives me crazy seeing a lot of the new training philosophies and there still needs to be that hard work. Like, I'm not saying that, there has to be that happy medium. You can't overwork because then, you're just exhausted, and an exhausted person is no good to anybody. But you also can't go too light, right? It's about finding that
balance.
What would you do, to prepare for battle in your special forces kind of reality, outside of the ring, outside of the cage, outside of whatever? Because I believe, like you said, there's a lot of common denominators between the two. Obviously, yours is much greater scale for a greater good for this and that, and there's obviously greater consequences for what you were doing. But it's combat. Combat is combat, and it trickles down. And if the arena changes and it's a canvas instead of a trench or a forest or whatever else, it's still you're going into battle. And I was studying. What was I studying yesterday? I study a lot of. I try to study a lot of battles and a lot of interesting things because I really feel that you can learn from human history. So I was doing a lesson on intercepting. So I really took a couple hours and read up on the first German intercepting air missiles, the V2s,
right,
and whatnot. So because I wanted to hammer home the point that kicking and blocking and countering back is never going to be as good as just intercepting. So in the old days, people used to bomb each other. Boom, you bomb me, I'll bomb you. Let's see who fucking survives. But if you can shoot out of the air, why not? And that's what I was talking about with the jab, with the teeth, with whatever else. And I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does. So
I would like to know.
Two questions there.
I would like to know. I would like to know what training that you've experienced could benefit a martial artist, and that's probably anything.
Okay, so the bottom line is, the fight's not won on the night the fight's held, right? The fight's won in the gym.
What a cliche,
right?
But nobody fucking believes it.
Yeah, the fight is won long before that, right?
Yeah.
And we used to have there's a reason why in the special forces and in the Canadian Army and the infantry and everything else, there's a reason why it's tough at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? First off, you need to have tough, smart, adaptive thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the days of blow the whistle, hip hop, go over the top, and get shot, those days are over, right? We don't throw 10,000 people expecting them to get lost, right, at Vimy Ridge. Those days are long gone, right? The most valuable resource is your human being, right? Is your humans, your people, right? And if you don't take care of your people, they're not going to take care of you.
Where did that come from? Who changed that? Because it used to be just people used to march at each other just shooting. It was dishonorable to fucking sway from the line of fire.
I think as
when did that change?
As the battlefield changed.
Okay.
As the battlefield changed from lines of.
Oh no. We good. Yeah.
As the battlefield changed from just one conventional forces being all in uniform and lining up on their side of the turf, and the other armies or whatever, the enemy lining up on the other side of the turf, and fighting a very conventional-minded war. Post-Cold War, we started to see a lot of declining countries fall into chaos, and as a result, not so much declared militaries taking over as much as rebels and coups and undeclared warriors.
Yes.
And then we go into terrorism, right? A whole other ball game, where no one's wearing clearly defined uniforms with patches saying I'm the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
So the whole battlefield changed.
Yeah.
And they call it a 3-block war. They can call it a whole bunch of different things. The bottom line is the enemy wasn't clear, and we needed to be clear. So the way we combated it was really the rise of special forces, right? We knew we couldn't throw the whole battle brigade at it. Because where are they?
How could you do
They're
that?
hiding in the villages. They're in the mountains.
Yeah.
No one's wearing the uniform. Who's friend? Who's foe? No one knew. So that whole battlefield change, which changed the way we had to approach it. And I think that was, one of them. We can go back and we can do an hour-long history lesson on it, but we're not going to do that. We don't have enough. So bottom line is battlefield changed. We had to change to combat it, and we did that. And I used to say this. This is an excellent tie-in to sniping. When I was a young master sniper at the unit, we came back from Afghanistan and we were shooting 308 at the time, 7.62 308, and the effective kill range for that is about 600 to 800 meters. Well, the enemy was shooting 308. So to be an effective sniper, you have to be able to engage the enemy outside its effective range. So the enemy can shoot 800 meters. We need to be able to kill the enemy at 1,000 meters. Ideally, because then you're not detected. You're really that ghost, and not just killing one enemy, but you're inflicting fear because now they know they're not safe.
They can't see you.
They can't see you, and you're getting them. Then this is where.
And their buddies like, woo!
And this is where we came. This is where the rise of the 1,200 meter shot, the 2,500 meter shot.
What was the last one that just happened?
3,560 meters.
And you knew that guy, eh?
Yeah.
Crazy shit.
And if you think about it, and this is what I tell people, is
that's like a run,
buddy, one.
How would you even it's nuts? It's mathematics.
There's ways to do it. Yeah.
Crazy.
But the bottom line is training. Trigger time.
Sure.
So you can have all the fancy equipment in the world, and this is what I used to tell my guys. It's the same as gyms, right? You can have all the fancy equipment in the world. Sure, it's going to benefit you. You want to stay cutting edge.
Yeah.
The reality is, if you don't hit the bag, you can have the best bag in the world hanging in the gym.
Yeah.
But if you don't hit the bag,
it
doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
So
it's like Dwayne Ludwig says, like you gotta get those quality reps because if you need to get worse, you're gonna get better every single time you practice.
Just because a lot of people make that mistake too, is they think that technical advances or technological overmatch is going to win them the battle.
Oh God.
No.
Every motherfucker on YouTube with his bouncy ball is like, baby, what's that gonna do, bro? If you don't have a good solid fundamentals, if you're hitting it just a little bit wrong.
And not only that.
Same with the pad work that we were talking about, right? Like that stuff's fun, right? That's good stuff's good for the recreational.
But if you haven't been abused and you're not tough.
Yeah.
Right?
You need to know how far you can go.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's always that balance between technical advances and hard training. And I believe in hard training.
Yes, of course.
I do not.
What would a day look like for your training before you were like the hardest day of
hardest day of training? You would get bugged out at say 3 o'clock in the morning.
What does bugged out mean?
Called back to the unit. You would get called out and you would end up coming in, getting a mission brief, maybe dropped off 12 kilometers away with a heavy ruck. Navigate yourself back to wherever they tell you to get to, and then after that do a shooting test, and then maybe a PT test in the afternoon, which is a physical fitness test, and then end the day with a hit on a target. And your day would go 24 hours straight.
You're already exhausted by the time you got to perform.
And bing bang boom.
So that'd be like getting up, running 10K, and then doing the technical work, and then doing some jiu-jitsu, doing a wrestling practice, and then you have to go fight that day.
That's right. Yeah. So
without sleep.
And that's the other thing that we did very well at the unit is a lot of units, a lot of people think that getting into the special forces is nothing but physical fitness.
Yeah.
It's not, right? You got to be physically fit. The fitter you are, then the more sharp your mind is when it comes time to do that mental task, right? Because you're not weary, tired, beaten, and sore. Now you're going to be a little bit, obviously, but you're not going to be as weak as the guy who's not fit. Because once the body goes, then the mind starts to go, right?
Yeah, fatigue turns a coward.
That's right.
Everybody.
Right. So, anyways, that's kind of what we lived by. In the early days, were a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's real difficult to do because there's a lot of injury prevention. And don't get me wrong, I'm good with that. But I mean, we pushed ourselves a lot, especially in the airborne regiment. I thought I was fit until I went to the airborne regiment.
How many jumps have you done? your entire life?
Static line, I haven't done that many. I've probably only done about 35, but I've done over about 600 free fall, military free fall.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of jumping. What's the craziest story? We got to wrap it up because
Okay.
my battery, for some reason, isn't working well. But
well, a crazy story would be.
well, not the craziest because I'm sure you can't talk about
Yeah.
all that stuff. But
a good story would be, and it's kind of funny because there's another key to this that I've seen. You know, the relationship between what I used to do and martial arts and how you run your gym was train hard.
well, I run my gym a lot because of the way, like, the lessons that we've learned on the road together for 3 years. My son's fighting too. Trust me, Joe, you're a big influencer.
Yeah, but I mean, train hard, but have fun too, and that's the key. Like one of the JTF2 ethos, was humility, right? Humility, and the other one was sense of humor. And there's a couple others, but sense of humor is key.
Yeah.
Sense of humor will get you through the hardest times.
It's true.
You know, like if you can still smile at the end of the day and laugh at a really fucked up situation and say, okay, well, we have no choice but to push through this.
Yeah.
You know, and so this is kind of one of those stories where we were jumping at 22,000 feet with oxygen full equipment, and I was the commander, the ground force commander. So I was in charge of the guys that we were all jumping in. So as soon as I left the plane, I had a malfunction, and my chute, I started to spin. And if you know anything about free fall, as you start to spin, you spin faster and faster. Well, it's not death, but your eyeballs.
Panic is death.
Yeah, when your eyeballs start touching your glasses, okay, because you're spinning so hard, they're coming out of your head, and you start to pass out. It's time to pull, right? It's time to cut away. And I remember that we had what we call a stack master, which is a guy that runs the whole stack from behind. And all I could remember was him yelling in my ear, "Cut away, cut away, cut away." But for some reason, I thought I could fix this.
With a knife?
No, it's you pull.
Okay, yeah.
You pull away.
Get rid of the.
Get rid
Use the secondary chute.
Get rid of your main and deploy your reserve.
Yeah.
Anyways, all I could hear in my earpiece was "cut away, cut away, cut away." In my head, I was starting to go like a little, I was starting to pass out, and so I did.
Then you're fine.
Oh yeah, well, you could be. But anyway, so I cut away, and it flung me across the sky. I went about 3,000 feet before I stopped spinning, and then my main opened, and I remember the guys laughing, and that's what I remember. I remember that I had burned through 20 minutes of oxygen in like 3 minutes because I was hyperventilating and I was all screwed up and fucked up. And I remember the guys laughing at me, going, "Holy fuck, he lived!" and it was, it was kind of like a lot of operations I've been on and a lot of things that have gone wrong. It was the guys around you that like didn't panic, didn't get stressed out, and remained calm and had a great sense of humor to say.
So important.
Yeah, like fuck any hard time in your life, man. If you get down on yourself, you're done.
Because it's always better.
Yeah.
Like there are people living in straw huts that are smiling more than us.
That's right.
And that's fucked up.
Like you need a sense of humor, especially if you're going to do selection. And that's what I told my son when he was thinking of doing it. I said, no matter what they throw at you, no matter what they do, take it, enjoy it, and get stronger off of someone else's weakness.
I think that comes from inner strength as well. Because if you let somebody get to you, you're going to be a sad guy. There are people out there that go to some of my old YouTube videos. There are people, "You fucking suck, you do this guy's a hack, blah, blah, blah." And obviously Joe Rogan talks about it a lot, just like the internet trolls, just these guys that just rip people apart and they have no life and they're sitting down like eating their bag of Fritos, just like telling you how it is. And it's like, the world is like it can be a very oppressive place. And if you listen to other people's opinions and don't value your own inner strength and don't value who you actually are, then it can chew you up. So I like that, because like laughing people off and laughing off tough situations and laughing off tough criticisms, you're like, you know what, I know what I'm gonna do. There's been so many failures in my life, bro, and it's just like, I fail a lot, man. Every day I fail. I fucking fail so much doing this business. I fail, but I know it's gonna succeed, and I know I will be a success, and I know,
and you're fighting.
Anybody that adopts that attitude will be a success.
And that's the other thing. Like we used to train to failure, and we used to produce failure, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Like Michael Phelps' coach used to like break his glasses, so when he got up on the starting block, his glasses would break. Well, what the fuck are you gonna do? You're gonna get off the starting block? No, you're gonna race. without
How
glasses.
would he break them though?
Like he'd snap them, you know what I mean? Like he'd have them, no, he'd have them so they were ready
Fuck
to
you,
break.
Michael Phelps.
So as soon as he stretched them on his head, well, what he did is he prepared them for every eventuality.
Yeah,
You know, and there's a lot to be said. You can learn through adversity.
You have to.
You have to learn through adversity because there's an old
And you
saying.
have to do it yourself. You
Yeah.
can't send in somebody
No,
else.
you-
That's what a lot of leaders and people do, I find. It's like, you know, they send someone else to do the job. You know, oh, go get it. You go take care of that. You go take it. No, again, leadership from the front, Joe. If you want to do something, like if you're truly a general, then get out there and do it yourself. If you're truly a leader, you know. And I really, really believe that.
The big one too, though, we'll wrap it up here, Jeff, and you just hit on it. There's so many like key points here.
Well, part two someday.
Yeah, but the key here too is like, as a good leader, you've got to let your people fail,
All the time. Yeah.
right? Like sometimes they
Yeah.
need to fail. And that's a lesson that a lot of parents have lost in today's
That was
society.
my first locker room talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Learn how to lose.
Learn how to lose. Let people fail. Let
Dust
them go.
off.
Yeah. Let them go to the point of failure.
Yeah.
Because now they know where that point is and what it will take to get past it. Not what it'll take to stop, but what's it going to
Yeah.
take to get past that point.
Because quitters never win.
Winners
never quit.
That's right.
Cheif Joe, thank you so much, man. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Locker Room Talk, Part 3. Stay tuned. We're going to get some cool guests on this thing here in the locker room at New Era Combat Sports or whatever locker room I happen to be in. Cheif Joe, man. It's truly an honor to know this guy.